So we're going to discuss pain and pain relief today within labour and childbirth. I think this will be a really invaluable chat. We're going to discuss all the options. I'm going to discuss both medical and natural pain relief, and we're going to discuss why it's even a subject. Why is it even important? Birth and pain relief tend to go together in a conversation, but do we ever kind of discuss why? So we're going to do that today as well. Cool. So if you've got questions and if you want to chat today, if you've actually got anything to add to the conversation, if you want to share your own experience with some pain relief that worked for you or that you used or whatever, or if you see a question below that you feel you could answer with your experience or just discuss, then please do. What's really lovely about these chats, but also this community, this account, I suppose, is that it's very much a community. Excuse me. It's very much a gathering of pregnant people who are sharing this massive journey. And you could all be at such different stages in your pregnancy, or you may not even be pregnant any longer, but I know that a lot of people that use these chats during their pregnancy still sometimes log on to watch just to feel that familiarity, because right now having that human connection is very difficult. So we are all here for the same reasons. You're watching along with others who want to learn, who are wanting to find out more, who are curious about their options in birth, or are just looking for that human interaction. So chat, support each other and lift each other up. Please do, because that's what's really important during pregnancy as well. A lot of positive influence around you. So 35 weeks and 3 days in Swindon. Hi to all in the chat, and thanks, Lucy. Hi, you're very welcome, and hello. Cool. So why is pain relief a topic? Why is it even a thing, right? Because it is a big part of our childbirth experience, or in preparation. We plan it, or we think about it, don't we? We probably put it on our birth plans or preferences, or we go in sort of eyes closed towards pain relief, not knowing really what they are. We just know that there are some options, and we maybe will take them if and when the time comes. Some people message to say, I'm absolutely having this pain relief. Can I still be active, be upright? Can I still, whatever it might be? So some people have made their mind up from the get-go, and all of those are perfectly fine. With everything going into your birth, I always would say is that really know what you're going to experience. Really know as much as you can. Ask people, find out more, do some research, because we all of our different personalities will react in different ways to labour, to childbirth, and to different methods of pain relief. For example, if you've got your heart set on a home birth, do you know your options for pain relief at home birth? If you've got your heart set on having a specific pain relief, do you know what that will mean for other elements of your birth? Because we need to kind of get all the details of everything, so that when we come to those moments, we always say we can make an informed decision about that. And some people won't want any medical pain relief, and therefore I'm going to give you some really amazing natural methods as well, and we'll discuss why they're really important. So, have we ever stopped to ask why we even talk about pain relief? Why is childbirth potentially for some people painful? Good question. Do we think that it's been designed in a way that should be excruciating? Do we believe that we are supposed to go through some sort of hell to bring babies into the world? Because some people do experience that, right? And some people don't. So what is it? Why? I've discussed before about the shape of our pelvis, our structure, the fact that there is a little bit less space than there used to be, but plenty of space still. And that kind of comes down, that's kind of the common comment I feel is, well, how am I going to fit my baby out of my body? That must be painful. But actually we've been designed to do that. we've designed to do that in amazing ways, with both creating space in our bodies and natural pain relief within our bodies. Isn't that amazing? So what is it that can cause great discomfort in some people? And you know, I want us to talk about pain. I always found when I was preparing for birth my first time round, I found it was really difficult to just have that honest discussion, because people were either trying to hide it from me, you know, or people didn't find that pain was a thing for them. So I wanted to know more. And fear in childbirth is huge, as well as pain in childbirth. Like, people worry about pain, and people worry about, people are fearful. And for some people, pain isn't even a thing. Like, they're not worried about that. Their fear is maybe something different, or their fear is about other things, something happening during the experience, or not getting there in time, or, you know, other people experience different fears. But today, I know a lot of you are here because maybe pain is something that, maybe not a fear, but maybe something that you're interested about. For me, I wanted to know more, and I just couldn't seem to find much honest information. And what I did experience, so after my first birth, which was in a hospital environment, and I felt quite out of control in that birth, and I would say it was slightly traumatic, I had to really work on a fear about pain and sensations before I had my home birth. It was a very, very big mental block for me, and I started that sort of process thinking I'll never be able to have a home birth, or I'll never be able to have an unmedicated birth because of what my experience showed me. But then when I worked on the fear surrounding pain, and I learned more about the anatomy of labour and birth and the hormones and everything that I now, you know, teach, I had that lovely experience, and that's kind of shown me what made the massive difference, and that pain actually wasn't something I should have been fearing. However, it's difficult to say that to someone when they're feeling that. You can't just say, oh, you don't need to worry about it. And as someone's just commented, I haven't read the whole thing, but it's very, 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 very true. How do we know what to expect? What does it feel like? If you've never felt it before, no one can explain it. And it also feels differently for everyone. Some people never experience anything but, you know, gentle sensations, and some people do. And so when we know our options for helping us feel more comfortable, or going down a medical pain relief route, we feel, again, more confident going into that experience. We know all of our options. So I lost my first track because I was about to go on to something, and then I completely went off on a tangent. But basically, have we thought about why? Yeah. So there are two main elements or details, I suppose, to think about as to why it is sometimes painful. And that those two, I believe, and correct me if there are other things, are fear creates an increased level of pain, and malposition of your baby inside your body during labour creates increased levels of discomfort or pain. Okay, they are, for me, what I've been thinking about are the two main details, okay? And both of those are, you know, they can lead on to other things, but kind of coming back to the roots of things, fear, and we'll go into why, and malpositioning, okay? And there is no doubting that with those two elements, sensations and discomfort levels can be felt more intensely. Here is why. With fear is probably the number one obstacle with childbirth. There could be a deeply rooted fear that we are kind of keeping inside of us, or, you know, deeply rooted that we're not even going to talk about because we're just going to go into birth and hope for the best. During your labour and birth, you are at your most heightened. Your senses are the most heightened they'll be, because this is, as we've talked about before, a primal event, okay? And so we require our senses to be heightened for a protection method, okay? So because of everything being heightened, any fear that we might be holding on to is likely to be kind of heightened, yeah? So this is why things like birth preparation, yoga, hypnobirthing, reading books and things is going to really help address those fears. Now with fear, what happens is our bodies become kind of flooded with our fight or flight hormone, adrenaline, which we've talked about before. And we've talked about the fact that adrenaline actually causes our oxygenated blood supply to strip away from the uterus muscle, okay? And what that does is it starves your uterus muscles of oxygen, and therefore they have to work much harder to work, and that becomes more intense and that becomes more painful. Fear is the root there. Now what we can do to help that is breathing. This is what we're going to talk all about later as well. Fear in baby's position. Yes. We're going to talk about the breath later, because the breath is one of the most important methods of pain relief, which we'll discuss. And fear also leads to the fact that oxytocin, which is our natural hormonal pain relief, cannot flood our bodies. So now we're starved of oxygen in our uterus, and our natural oxytocin levels cannot be released. So therefore, all of our natural go-to methods are gone, okay? And what happens then is, because we're then feeling strong surges and intense contractions, we can't catch our breath because we're in Panicville. And if you've ever watched my video on the path to Panicville, this is why it's relevant and important. If you can't catch a breath, we're not giving ourselves more oxygenated blood, because we're cutting off our oxygen supply. So if we're then in Panicville and not giving ourselves oxygen, we're going to continue in fear mode and panic mode. And what's going to happen? We're going to struggle even more. Okay, so that's fear. And when we talk about malpositioning, this is huge, guys. Baby's positioning inside your body and your positioning during labour is massive. Yeah, that's why this whole account exists. It is instrumental. Here is why. If your baby is in a suboptimal position, and that can be ever so slight, and it can be rectified. It can be absolutely rectified. Okay, it's actually likely your baby will be in a sort of suboptimal position during the beginning of your labour, in the early days before your labour starts. And sorry, I need to turn comments off. I love reading all your comments, and then it always distracts me. And if you imagine that your baby can't quite descend the way that they want to through your pelvis, what they're going to do, they're going to be getting themselves trying to move around, and that is going to put real deep pressure on your ligaments, and it's going to cause you some sort of distress if you're feeling something that is painful. So often people might say, I had really bad back labour. Well, our uterus muscle is in the centre of our body. Yeah, our uterus is in our uterus muscles are in the centre, okay? So what's happening in the back? Why are we feeling it in the back? Pubic bone pain. Well, that's really low down, and that isn't where your uterus is. Your uterus is the thing that's contracting. So why are we feeling pubic pain? Why are we feeling pain in our hips and our legs? Because our ligaments are under strain and stress due to malposition, probably. Or there is some degree of pelvic injury from your past that you didn't realise was affected, or it's heightened during your labour. For example, you fell off a horse when you were 8 years old and you bruised your coccyx, and due to that your pelvis is now imbalanced, and there are some sort of degree of imbalances in your pelvic structure. Your ligaments on that side are slightly tighter. Maybe you've always carried your bag on your left, so now you're slightly imbalanced. So during your labour or your birth experience, ligaments might react. That might cause some blockage. So what's going to help that? Upright positions, moving your body, using your body, helping your baby, working with your baby, creating space, okay? Now, of course, there can be other elements, there can be other things going on, and that, that goes without saying. I'm just giving you two of the main details here that can create intensities. Also, we have to consider that everybody has different pain feelings. We feel things differently. Someone's period pains are different to the next person. Someone banging their shin is different to the next person. We all react differently. So This is why it's never going to be something that we can just say, it feels like this, and you're going to want to feel like this, and you're going to want to take that, okay? It's completely variable. It's so different for every single person. So what can we do about it then? So say we're in labour and we are feeling something that's quite strong or intense, and we want to calm down, or we want to relax more, and relaxing is important. Pain relief has its place. Let's think about long labours. Let's think about those times that there is a malposition of the baby and there is a back labour, or there's a deep pain somewhere in the body. You know, are we expected to just suffer with that for hours and hours of labour? No. What's that going to do? It's going to cause more panic. It's going to cause more confusion, upset, self-doubt. You know, we don't need to be suffering. Of course we don't. You know, this isn't a time to suffer. So I'm obviously talking from the UK, so the names of things I give you here are the names of things that we call them. You might, if you're in the US or anywhere else in the world, it may be called something differently, or it may be in the same family as what I'm about to explain to you. So let's talk about the medical pain relief. We're going to talk about 4 things. Are we? No, we're not going to talk about 3 things. So number 1 is, so medical pain relief is available in a hospital or a midwife-led unit. Some of the pain relief is not available in a midwife-led unit. We'll talk about that. And some of these things are available at home. Now, it tends to be the case that a hospital policy is that in order to use these pain relief methods, you need to be in established labour. And that is around 4 centimetres dilated. If you're having a vaginal examination, that's what you know, that's to find out your dilation. But if you don't want to have a vaginal examination, then your midwives may be able to see through the way you are, whereabouts you are, and things like that. So so we have the option of using what we call gas and air, or it could be called Entonox wherever you're living, or it's both. And gas and air is something that you can have at a home birth. You can have it on a birthing suite or a midwifery-led unit or midwife-led unit, and in a hospital obstetrics unit. And you use gas and air to inhale and exhale with a device, okay? And you can use that in a pool, you can use that on a birthing ball. As I said, you could be at home with it. You can use it through 1st and 2nd stage. And what it does is it kind of offers you some relief during those contractions, okay, during those surges. And it kind of takes the edge off of any sensations that you might be feeling. The good thing about gas and air is that it doesn't stay in your system long term with deep effects. So for example, once you've finished using it, you will very quickly feel that leaves your body, and you kind of feel the same again while you're not using it. Okay, it doesn't last for hours and hours and hours. So what it can do is make you feel maybe a little bit lightheaded, and that can really help relax us. It can really help take some of the sensations down a notch, kind of take that peak down a little bit, and that can really help. You can be mobile and use it, and yeah, that's Entonox, quite a simple one really. The next one we're going to discuss is Pathadin. Now, Pathadin is a synthetic opioid, and it is injected into the body. I think it's into your buttock. And Pathadin can last anything between 2 and 4 hours, and that will be dependent on the person. Okay, so for some people it will last 2, for some people it will last a bit longer. And Pathadin has the kind of impact of feeling quite groggy. This is what people report to feel, maybe a little bit dizzy. You could feel maybe a little bit sick, and I think you can have an anti-sickness injection as well to back that up. And yeah, Pathadin can last, as I said, up to 4 hours. The thing with Pathadin is you cannot have Pathadin in a pool environment. So if you wanted to use a birthing pool, you wouldn't be able to use it while still feeling the effects of Pathadin. This is because of the way that it can make you feel. Pathadin is going to help your body to relax. It's going to be great if you are unable to relax or exhausted and need to sleep. But remember, for the time that it's in your system, you're going to feel quite groggy and maybe need to lay down a little bit. You cannot have Pathadin at a home birth. Now, this has, I believe, recently changed, because I know that you did used to be able to have Pathadin at a home birth, but you had to have it prescribed by your GP. I do believe that's changed now, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And that may be something that's dependent on the trust. I'm not quite sure. If anyone knows below, then feel free to contribute. And then the next pain relief method is an epidural, which is definitely one that most people know about, I think, an epidural. But an epidural is administered by an anaesthetist. So you would need an anaesthetist to administer that for you. So for example, if you had decided that you wanted an epidural, it isn't like, oh, I'm going to have an epidural right now. You need to wait for that to happen, and that's dependent on someone being available. And an epidural would numb your lower body, okay? So you wouldn't be able to feel your lower body. Now, there are in some trusts and some countries, because I know some people have messaged and said, I don't know about that. There are options of a walking or mobile type of epidural, okay? And that is where you are more in control of the dosage that is administered, and therefore have a little bit more control over your sensations. So the good thing about an epidural is obviously not going to feel those sensations. What I would say about an epidural for you to realise is that you won't be able to have an epidural anywhere other than an obstetric unit or a delivery sort of unit or room. So it does have a more medical attachment to it. You'll also need monitoring, and you'd also require a catheter, I believe. I haven't had an epidural, but I believe there's a catheter there to collect your urine. And I think the main worry is with an epidural, can I still move? Can I still be upright? Now, with a mobile or a walking epidural, it's still likely that you could still really very much use your body. You would need to have some support in doing that. You need to ensure that you are safe there. So using the bed and cushions, and because that is going to still aid your physiological process, right? Now, an epidural is going to mean that you can't quite feel your body in the same way as obviously without it, because you can't feel anything. So, you know, when we talk about working with the body, when we talk, thank you, confirmed, yes, do you need a catheter? When you feel, you know, you want to work with your body and you want to feel those contractions, or you want to feel where your baby is, or move around, that is going to change a little bit for you when you have an epidural, okay? So they are our kind of medical options, and if you're wanting to have that experience where you use your positioning, or you want to be able to kind of be involved in stage 2, bringing your baby out of your body, you know, it's worth thinking about the timeline with regards to epidural being quite close to delivery, and that is something that your midwife will be able to speak to you about during your process. And I think going into it, having definitely decided we're going to have an epidural, then there are things that we can really think about our room to kind of create such a lovely environment still within a medical room. So if you're in a medical room, an obstetric room, for example, I mean, where, you know, in a birthing suite, we have kind of a more home-like environment. In a medical space, what can we do to create a more conducive space? And you want to think about things like oils and sprays. You want to think about things like music and lighting, and how can you still create a really conducive environment within a more medical looking space, because there are things that we can do and things that we can pack in our bags. I've done a video all about packing your bag, and things that you can take with you to kind of still allow your body to feed off of the environment, because we know how the environment impacts us during labour, okay? So they are the options. Thank you to those who are contributing below. That's really great. And for those of you who are interested to know more, that's some really good information here as well. So they are your options, okay? And if you've experienced some of those, or if you've used some of those, or if you're planning on using some of those, then definitely put your thoughts and your opinions and your questions about them below, and let's see if people can discuss those more with you. So why would we not just head straight in for those, right? We've got pain relief options. Why don't we head straight into those options? I guess for some people, there is the element of wanting to really feel, wanting to feel in control. wanting to stay away from medicine. Some people, you know, feel like they want to stay away from that during their labours and their births. There might be the feeling of wanting to have that birth pool, or wanting to stay at home, and whatever those things, you're kind of weighing up, aren't you, what you want the most, or what is most important to you. And they are things to consider. So for example, having a home birth, you know, realising that the options are going to be mostly natural as well as gas and air. Okay. And yeah, these are things to weigh up. So let's talk about natural then. So we're going to talk about natural pain relievers, like absolutely brilliant pain relievers. And then we're going to talk about comfort measures, and I'll discuss why they're important. So natural pain relievers, the number one natural pain relief method is your breathing. Your breath is incredible at this. The reasons are there are a few. Number one is that you're sending oxygenated blood supply into your body, to your uterus. Number two is that you're therefore calming your nervous system, blocking out adrenaline from, you know, creating a higher level of discomfort, and therefore you're allowing your bodies to release oxytocin. So that is coming on to my second, oxytocin. But let's go back to the breath. So simply just breathing is enough, but as you know, if you're on my course and other birth prep courses, there are fantastic techniques of breathing that literally do calm the nervous system. In fact, they're the same sort of techniques that help us to calm down if we're having, if we're struggling with anxiety or a panic attack, or, you know, if you're really trying to settle the nervous system. A lot of yogic breathing techniques are especially good for this, and I teach them on my course. They are designed in a way that allows the body to stay settled and to stay calm. When we are calm, we can manage our pain levels way better. When we are in panic mode, it's harder to come back down again. And once you have kind of flooded with adrenaline, you know, I'm speaking from experience here, it's really difficult to find control. I found that the hardest thing is to come back to a controlled space once I'd left it. It's still possible, but it takes quite a lot of work, and you need to have those anchoring breathing techniques to bring you back to that controlled headspace again. But your breath is incredible. And again, speaking from experience, using your breath effectively during labour, it can literally dull out the sensations that you're feeling. It's amazing. So that's number one. Number two is oxytocin. Oxytocin is our body's hormonal pain relief mixed with endorphins. So this is what we call the cocktail that creates this almost kind of out of body numb experience that you're completely, you know, it's a completely natural reaction or chemical reaction in your body, but it literally works as a pain relief. And that happens when we're calm, when we feel safe and not panicked, when we're breathing, and when we are trusting in our bodies. That's also really important. So when we learn more about birth, and then we are feeling able to trust ourselves more, we are able to feel safe. And when we feel safe, our bodies can release oxytocin. Okay? The next one, really powerful one, is the pool, the water. Using a birthing pool during your labour, even if you don't give birth in it, by the way, but just to use it as pain relief, is hugely powerful. The buoyancy, the fact that you can move freely, the warmth, and it is really quite warm when you are in a birthing pool. It is a fantastic pain reliever, and so is things like having a bath during your labour, or using warm water from a shower on your body where you're feeling it. These are all fantastic pain relief methods, but yeah, a pool is definitely one. So if you're planning to use a pool at home, then it's something that you don't, as I said, you don't have to use it to actually give birth in, but you may get in it and think, oh, I want to stay here now, or you may not actually have time to get in it if your labour is progressing really quickly. But I'd say it's one of the best investments you can make for your home birth is having a pool. And in a hospital environment, remember, you can use the pool in a midwife-led unit and a birthing suite if they have them. My trust does, so I hope that some of you have that option as well. And the other thing I wanted to mention is a TENS machine. A TENS machine is a fantastic comfort measure, pain management method, and I didn't actually dare touch one during my first labour because I had back labour, and the thought of something being on my back was not clicking because everything I felt was in my back. I didn't want anything added to that sensation. When I had a more optimal positioned baby during my second birth, a TENS machine was absolutely fantastic. Now, a TENS machine is something that you put, it's a machine with leads and wires that you put on your back, and it sends vibrations to, well, I say your back, wherever you're wanting them, but it tends to be the place, backs and hips is the place that a lot of people use them. And they send vibrations to the area. So it's kind of a strong, I wouldn't say massage because it's a stronger sensation than that. And what you do is you use it during a contraction, during a surge to kind of distract you from what's going on, but also to take some pressure. It's like counter pressure, basically. Counter pressure when you're feeling a contraction is a wonderful relief. And I again recommend everybody to get one. You don't have to buy one. You can borrow one from a friend. Any TENS machine is fine. I borrowed one from my father-in-law, who's a sportsman, and he had a TENS machine for injuries in the past. I used his. And what I'd say is to practice with it in advance. It's a bit fiddly and you've got to get the pads right and you've got to make sure you know the buttons and the dials. So don't just pack it in your bag without trying it first. Try it, just make sure you know where the buttons are and where the pads are and have you got enough pads and things like that. Does your birth partner know how to operate it? Because they're the ones that are going to be helping you with it, is likely, okay? So they're going to want to know how to make it work and they're going to want to know where in the bag it's packed. Now, a TENS machine is kind of one of those things you're going to want to use during a surge, but you're probably going to want to have it off during the break between contractions. And again, you might find that you want it for a bit and then you kind of got over it a bit, not working anymore, or you may find you want it on the whole entire time, okay? Obviously, we can't use a TENS machine in the water, but otherwise you can use a TENS machine everywhere else. You know, of course, if you're having an epidural and you don't feel anything, you probably won't need the TENS machine. But if you've got it in your bag, you've got everything there, okay? Okay, so they are like the natural pain relievers. Let's also talk about comfort. Why is comfort in the same category as pain relief? Got a long way to go. So, comfort is important because if you are comfortable, then you are able to relax. If you are able to relax, you are able to release oxytocin and you are able to breathe because you're relaxed. If you're able to breathe and can release oxytocin, or your body is releasing oxytocin freely, then your pain levels are decreased. So that starts with comfort. Okay, so couple of things to mention for comfort then. I did make my notes, but I've actually not used them at all. Actually, I've got notes on my phone. I haven't even looked at them yet. Might have left out something really important. No, I think we're fine. Oh yeah, that's the other thing I wanted to mention because this is something that is being used more. I believe it's being used more in the US. I don't know enough about this, but water injections. Now, I'm seeing a lot about them. Apparently fantastic and very effective in releasing sensations in your back. I don't know. So if anyone's got any information on them below, please do let me know. They're not common practice, but you know, if anyone's used any, I know that we have people watching a lot from the US and things like that. So do let me know below. Okay. So coming back to comfort then, why is comfort important and blah, blah, blah. What then can we use for comfort? So let's firstly start with your environment. So when your environment is set and is conducive to labour, you are able to relax, okay? So this is why, for example, moving from a lovely, cosy home environment to a more medical environment can cause havoc with our hormones. Can do. Again, I'm speaking from experience here. It's so different to the conducive environment that naturally we have become we are designed to birth in. Again, if we were to watch our animal friends go and give birth, they would do it in a quiet, calm, private environment, wouldn't they? They'd make themselves a den, they'd go off into the bushes, into the trees, or into a quiet corner of the house, say it's a dog, and they'd give birth in private. Same for us. We do exactly the same. We birth best in our own private environments. But when we move to a hospital environment, if that's what we've chosen to do, just because we've chosen that doesn't change our hormonal reaction, because that's how we've been designed. So things like bright lights, lots of different people that we've never met before, hormonally or primally more, who are these people that I don't know in my space while I'm trying to give birth to a precious baby, So we have to have a very, very, very good, strong mindset to keep us calm, to keep us trusting, to keep us feeling safe inside, so that when we're confronted with things that our primal brains aren't geared up for, we don't lose that calm track. We don't come off that calm train into birth bliss, okay? So when we see other people, when we are in a bright light situation, when we are in a delivery room, what can we control? What can we manage? Our environment. So I'm talking about lower lighting. I'm talking about using the room sprays and oils that you may have been practicing with during your pregnancy. Very important, by the way, to give you that reminder of your safe space, perhaps at home or in your bedroom. It's going to take you back there in your mind. You're going to feel more relaxed. I'm talking about music. So powerful. I mean, it's everything. Music just sets every scene, doesn't it? It sets everything. And whatever that music is, some people love a bit of heavy metal during labour. Some people need a little bit of calm and quiet. Maybe it's also visualizations or, recorded affirmations. Maybe it's recorded scripts that you're listening to that are going to then transform you, why can't I speak today? Transport you back to that relaxed state of mind that you were in during your pregnancy. So you've got that association built up and ready to go during your labour. Perhaps it's limited people in the room. You don't want lots of other people in the space. It's just you and your birth partner. Maybe it's an eye mask so that you can't see all the bright lights and the people and the bleeping machines while you're trying to stay within that really safe state of mind. These are all comfort measures. They really, truly are. Rebozos. Now, Rebozos, some of you might not know what a rebozo is. It's a Mexican scarf that is used during labour and originated in Mexico. I believe originated in Mexico, but has now been is brought over to the UK and other countries around the world to aid comfort levels during your labour, and using Rebozo techniques, which I've done a lot on my courses, I've learned a lot before, but I've not yet done anything online with. But Rebozos are ways of kind of massaging the woman during her labour and using different techniques to kind of sift her tummy and massage her hips and her back. Rebozo work is fantastic. Rebozos can also be used to pull against, to use your bodies and kind of let off some steam using Rebozos to pull on during a surge, during a contraction, because that can make you feel more comfortable. Other things are birthing balls. Birth balls offer comfort, definitely. Why? Because of your pelvis and your positioning. Your pelvis and the way that it can move on a birth ball is going to aid your comfort levels. Why? Because it's going to aid positioning for your baby. It's going to help take pressure off of your sacrum. It's going to help your pelvis to just gently rock. It's going to take pressure off the ligaments. That's going to aid your comfort levels. It goes without saying, comfort levels are also things like positioning in your labour and your birth, upright birth positions. Changing up those positions will change your sensations. Laying on your back is likely to increase your discomfort levels if you don't feel comfortable there. These are all comfort measures, okay? Massage from your partner, massive. counter pressure on your hips and your lower back, stroking you. If you've been practicing that during your pregnancy, building up that lovely positive association with stroking your wrist or your spine or the back of your neck, what's that going to do? It's going to aid relaxation. It's going to aid safety, that your partner is there with you doing those things for you. And sometimes you don't even want to be touched, but it's just your partner's presence there in the room is going to make you feel safe and going to make you feel loved and looked after. When you feel safe and loved, you can relax. When you can relax, you can release oxytocin. When you release oxytocin, you don't feel the same pain levels. Comes back from to comfort measures. Can't speak today. Okay. So the last thing I wanted to say before we go to some questions and some chat is, I didn't mention this earlier, but another thing that can, of course, increase discomfort levels is artificial hormones, which we discussed in our induction video a couple of weeks ago. And that is simply because when our bodies are injected with artificial hormones, it goes into our blood supply. And what that does is it kind of cuts off the feedback loop from a woman's brain, birthing brain, to her uterus, which is oxytocin, okay? So when we take that over with artificial hormones, if you're having an induction, it's important to remember that you don't have the same access to oxytocin and endorphins as you would do without artificial hormones. So therefore, in those scenarios, it's important to really think about comfort levels. It's important to really think about what your other options are when you don't have that as much of that natural oxytocin as you would otherwise. What else can you use to kind of boost you up and boost your oxytocin levels, to really use your breathing and comfort measures? What else can you use? Because that is something to also expect if having artificial hormones. So there we go, guys. I really hope that was useful and kind of gave you some ideas to think about. And there is absolutely, you don't have to start going out and buying all the things to create, the biggest pain relief toolbox. You don't have to have everything on that list. Of course, some of those things might never be your thing. You might never want to have a TENS machine on you. You might never be interested in natural pain methods and only into medical. That's fine. You might only want to do something a certain way, and that is fine. But having some options and discussing them may have made you think, oh, do you know what? I didn't actually think that having a TENS machine ready would be a good one for me, or I didn't realise such and such, so I'm now going to think about this. And I hope today kind of gives you a lot of food for thought so that you can put down on paper what you think is going to work for you. Also put down on paper your birth preferences or your birth plan A, B, C and D, and how do those pain relief methods, how do they tie in or connect with your birth plans? What your plan A is, okay, so with plan A, what are my options? With plan B, what are my options? With plan C, what are my options, okay? Because there is a space for all of this. There's a space for everything I've mentioned today in the birthing world, and how lucky are we to have those options, okay? And I've said it before, and I really hope that, it goes without saying what I'm about to say, but taking pain relief, having medical pain relief, does not take anything away from your birth, okay? What is important is that you know what that will mean for your birth, and that might mean a more pleasant experience, or it might mean a less mobile one, or it might mean you're not able to feel so much, so you can't work so much with your body. But if that isn't as important to you as feeling comfortable, then that doesn't matter, does it? It's what you most want to do, and what is going to make your experience a more positive one. As with everything that we do with medical intervention, let's say, or medical assistance, everything will have a risk and a benefit, okay? Everything will. We know that. We've talked about it before. So now we know what we're going to likely feel like. And do we want that? Yes, no, etc. We know now, we know more. And as I haven't gone through yet our comments below, but there will be people that you can talk to about their experiences, and you can discuss pain and discuss what it felt like, but no one can possibly tell you how your body and your experience is going to feel, because there are so many so many factors involved, from your structure, your baby, your positioning, the optimal positioning of your baby, and whether or not they are in that position before labour or not. Are you doing everything you possibly can to help with positioning? Because that's going to aid your experience. Are you practicing, or are you aware of breathing techniques? Because if you are, you're going to be using them. And if you aren't, well, then breathing isn't going to be as accessible to you when we don't have those fantastic techniques and methods there. So how are you now going to go and access all of those things we've discussed today? And I really hope that you do, and that you find it inspiring enough to go and source some information. So I'll answer a couple of questions. Thank you so much for joining, and I really hope it's been useful. Yes, so thank you so much for those who said the mobile epidural, you can only move around for so long. The more doses that you have, the less you can move. If you can't hold your legs up for 5 seconds, you're not allowed to walk. Good to note. I think an in-out catheter for a mobile epidural may be just used intermittently to empty the bladder, not left in situ. Thank you for that. Please, could you recommend the essential oils or essences for relaxation during birth, Lucy, as I forgot to write it down? Yes, of course I can. These are just personal to me that I love, but they're also great to use. Lavender is always great. I believe geranium is also great, but I've not used it. For me, peppermint and eucalyptus, and also frankincense was the one that I preached about. Frankincense is fantastic. It's very grounding. It's very calming. It really kind of brings you right back to yourself again when you're starting to maybe get a little bit panicky or going into transition. Frankincense is fantastic, okay? Does having asthma affect the way you breathe during birth? Now, I don't know, because I guess it will depend on your asthma and your symptoms. So what I'd say is practice it during your pregnancy. Practice different techniques and notice how they affect your lungs and your breathing. And I'm sure there'll be some resources online to help with that as well. I had a mobile epidural. I probably wouldn't do it again. It wasn't a nice experience for me. It didn't work the first time, ended up with nerve damage in my back. I had the catheter in until I gave birth. Thank you for that. Can a birthing pool slow down labour? Yeah, I'm sure everything has the potential to slow things down or change things. I think with the pool, it can actually relax you so much that your body can kind of calm. But also just the change in environment could do that as well. So with those situations, you would just be kind of recommended to change things up. So maybe come back out of the pool and labour on your all fours on a bed for a while, or labour on the floor for a while, and then maybe get back in later. But that's the great thing about a pool, is you don't feel the effects of it for the whole labour, and it doesn't have long-term effects. You can just change it up. You can get in and out as much as you want. All right. Will this be up after I totally forgot? Yes, it will be. Any recommendations for a TENS machine? Any TENS machine will be fine. All right. Someone just said, Katie said, I just used a Boots TENS machine, borrowed, was great. Just didn't go high enough. Yeah, you do want it to go higher, don't you? You can rent a TENS machine on Amazon or eBay. Good. What settings do you recommend? Oh, I have no idea. That will be very dependent on you, on how you're feeling. I couldn't possibly say. I know that I liked it strong. TENS didn't work for me, back-to-back labour. Neither did Entonox. Oh, that's a shame, isn't it? Back-to-back labour is quite a unique sensation. It can feel very, very strong. You wouldn't necessarily want anything on your back while you're feeling it. I really can relate to that with my back-to-back boy. Can you use a TENS machine to help labour at home as long as possible? Yes, you can. Oh, sorry, you've all been answering each other's questions. That's lovely. When you're induced, can you naturally bring back your oxytocin? Good question. So there is always going to be, so with an induction, it's what I'm talking about here is when you have artificial hormones into your bloodstream. So that is if you're having a medical induction or synthetic oxytocin, syntocinon. And there will always be the blockage of the inability to release, you know, those flooding hormones that your body has. But if you work on things like building up association during your labour, things that make you feel safe and loved and happy, using massage, using music, using relaxations and visualizations and scripts and affirmations, all of those things can of course boost your mood, can't they, and make you feel a bit more supported, and that's going to really help your whole mindset as well. So it's always possible, guys, to have a positive induction. It depends on so many things, but I just wanted you to know that there is to be expected a high level of intensity in the contractions as well. Okay. Thank you. This is so informative. I'm really pleased. Love these informative, positive Monday sessions. Thanks, Lucy. You're so welcome. Hashtag we love Lucy. I love you guys. I love this just as much. It's a pleasure. Thank you for your knowledge and time given to help everyone. You're so welcome. Epidural will mean a higher chance of worse tearing. So there is evidence to suggest an epidural will come with a higher chance of instrumental delivery, because of course you can't feel your lower body as much, if at all. So you may need help with bringing your babies here, and that can come with a higher level of tearing. Yes, can do, not always though. Would you diffuse the oils or use topically? I probably would diffuse them and use a room spray, just because you want to create that kind of atmosphere. So yeah, for me, but yeah, with the carrier oil on your body, it should be fine. It's just personal preference. But yeah, I would, no, I didn't have it on me, but also having them on a muslin or like a cloth or a flannel underneath your nose can be nice as well, because then maybe if you decide that you've gone off the smell a bit and it's on you, you can't remove it, because we can feel all sorts of crazy things in labour. You can just change our minds or just need something different. And if you've got one scent and you suddenly require a different one, or actually no scent, you can't remove it. So I would probably suggest putting it on something like a flannel. Any advice for managing the drive to the birth centre? I have an hour drive. Good question. Yeah, my advice would be try as much as you can to work out how you can stay upright. My best bet would be on your knees, with a seatbelt over you, but go in the back. Go on your hands and knees as much as you can. I've heard of people going in their boot. I've heard of people swaying using the headrests on the backs of the seats and just swaying. Sitting on your bottom during contractions, during labour for an hour is going to probably be quite uncomfortable. I would try and do that anyway. Also, eye mask to keep you really zoned in. Music on in the car. Having maybe some headphones with any visualizations that you're using. Keep it going. Try not to stop with those associations. Keep them going. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you've got to stay in that zone as long as you can. And that's a good chance, that's a good opportunity to really home in on all of those techniques. Okay, I love the smell of vanilla. Does anyone know an oil room spray or diffuser that I could use? I don't, I'm afraid. I'm afraid. I've got Mamma Mia room spray from Lucy's recommendation and I love it. It's really good. Oh, I love it so much, the Mamma Mia one. The liquid yoga space spray. It's amazing. I use it now. It's lovely. Thank you for this. I found it useful. You're very welcome. I'm 33 weeks, but I've just discovered you. I have done lots of my own prep and feel quite prepared. But for the last few weeks, would like to start doing your online course. What should I focus on? Oh, thank you. Well, my online course is yoga for birth. So it's all about positioning. So I take you through how to soften the hips ready for labour and birth, how to use different positions. On my course is a whole video about how to use upright birth positions in a hospital birth environment, with monitors and things like that. So you'll get access to that. There's access to breathing technique videos that they are probably going to be your key. So I would work on breathing techniques and using your body, working on positioning for your baby. And that is what yoga will do, help your baby get into an optimal position. That is invaluable. Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to go. Oh, do Lucy's course. It's wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm thinking about going in a black cab for more space getting to the birth centre. Good idea. All right, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining me. I really hope that was helpful today. And do let me know your thoughts. Do take a screenshot quickly before we finish and put it on your stories. Tag me in it and let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to see. And I will be live again on Wednesday night. And that is going to be to talk all about breech babies and breech birth. It's going to be an amazing talk all about actually giving birth to a breech baby at home during lockdown last year with a friend of mine, Laura, and she's going to be here joining me this Wednesday evening. So I shall see you there. Otherwise, I'll see you all next week on Monday, and I'll share with you later this week what the topic's going to be. You're very welcome. I'm really pleased it was helpful, guys. And yeah, I love chatting to you all. It's, as I said before, you're all my friends. I get to see my friends on a Monday. All right. Bye, guys.